Welcome back, everybody. We're going to read chapter 3 today. So, last time we read about the dresses game, and during that chapter, we learned that Wanda started to tell people about her lots of different dresses at home, and Peggy and Maddie were saying how they clearly thought that was a lie. And at the very end of the last chapter, we heard from Maddie's perspective about how she was sort of starting to feel a little embarrassed and maybe a little guilty about the way that they were treating Wanda, and that they would not like it if they were treating, or that she would not like it if they were treating her that way. So today I'm going to read, this is the third chapter. By the way, there are 7 chapters. In my first video I said 6, but there are 7. So this chapter is called A Bright Blue Day. Somehow, Maddie could not buckle down to work. She sharpened her pencil, turning it around carefully in the little red sharpener, letting the shavings fall in a neat heap on a piece of scrap paper, and trying not to get any of the dust from the lead on her clean arithmetic paper. Arithmetic is another word for math. A slight frown puckered her forehead. In the first place, she didn't like being late to school. And in the second place, she kept thinking about Wanda. Somehow, Wanda's desk, though empty, seemed to be the only thing she saw when she looked over to that side of the room. How had the 100 Dresses game begun in the first place? She asked herself impatiently. It was hard to remember the time when they hadn't played that game with Wanda. Hard to think about all the way back from now, when the 100 Dresses was like a daily dozen, to then, when everything seemed so much nicer. Oh yes, she remembered. It had begun the day when Cecile first wore her new red dress. Suddenly the whole scene flashed swiftly and vividly before Maddie's eyes. It was a bright blue day in September. No, it must have been October, because when she and Peggy were coming to school, arms around each other and singing, Peggy had said, "You know what? This must be the kind of day they mean when they say October's bright blue weather." Maddie remembered that because afterwards it didn't seem like bright blue weather anymore, although the weather had not changed in the slightest. As they turned from shady Oliver Street into Maple, they both blinked. For now the morning sun shone straight in their eyes. Besides that, bright flashes of color came from a group of a half a dozen or more girls across the street. Their sweaters and jackets and dresses, blues and golds and reds, and one crimson, one in particular, caught the sun's rays like bright pieces of glass. A crisp, fresh wind was blowing, swishing their skirts and blowing their hair in their eyes. The girls were all exclaiming and shouting, and each one was trying to talk louder than the others. Maddie and Peggy joined the group, and the laughing and the talking. "Hi, Peg. Hi, Maddie." They were greeted warmly by the others. "Look at Cecile." What they were all exclaiming about was the dress that Cecile had on. A crimson dress with cap and socks to match. It was a bright new dress and very pretty. Everyone was admiring it and admiring Cecile. For long, slender Cecile was a toe dancer and wore fancier clothes than most of them. And she had her black satin bag with her precious white satin ballet slippers slung over her shoulders. Today was the day for her dancing lesson. Maddie sat down on the granite curbstone to tie her shoelaces. She listened happily to what they were saying. They all seemed especially jolly today, probably because it was such a bright day. Everything sparkled. Way down at the end of the street, the sun shimmered and turned to silver, the blue water of the bay. Maddie picked up a piece of broken mirror and flashed a small circle of light, edged with rainbow colors onto the houses, the trees, and the top of the telegraph pole. And it was just then that Wanda had come along with her brother Jake. They didn't often come to school together. Jake had to get to school very early because he helped old Mr. Heaney, the school janitor, with the furnace or raking up the dry leaves or other odd jobs before school opened. Today, he must be late. Even Wanda looked pretty in the sunshine, and her pale blue dress looked like a piece of the sky in the summer. And that old gray toboggan cap she wore, it must be something Jake had found, looked almost jaunty. Maddie watched them absent-mindedly as she flashed her piece of broken mirror here and there. And only absent-mindedly she noticed Wanda stop short when they reached the crowd of laughing and shouting girls. "Come on," Maddie heard Jake say. "I gotta hurry. I gotta get the doors open and ring the bell." "You go the rest of the way," said Wanda. "I want to stay here." Jake shrugged and went up on Maple Street. Wanda slowly approached the group of girls. With each step forward, before she put her foot down, she seemed to hesitate for a long, long time. She approached the group as a timid animal might. Timid means shy. Ready to run if anything alarmed it. Even so, Wanda's mouth was twisted into the vaguest suggestion of a smile. She must feel happy too, because everybody must feel happy on such a beautiful day. As Wanda joined the outside fringe of girls, Maddie stood up too and walked over close to Peggy to get a good look at Cecile's new dress herself. She forgot about Wanda, and more girls kept coming up, enlarging the group and all exclaiming about Cecile's new pretty dress. "Isn't it lovely?" said one. "Yeah, I have a blue dress, but it's not as pretty as that one," said another. "My mother just bought me a plaid dress, one of the Stuart plaids." Can you guys see? Oh, sorry. "I got a new dress for dancing school. I'm going to make my mother get me one just like Cecile's." Everyone was talking to everybody else. Nobody said anything to Wanda, but there she was, a part of the crowd. I'm wondering right now if anybody has ever felt that way when you are next to maybe a crowd of people, but you don't feel like a part of the crowd necessarily. The girls closed in a tighter circle around Cecile, still talking all at once, admiring her, and Wanda was somehow enveloped in the group. So she was like inside the group, right where everybody else was. But nobody talked to Wanda. Nobody even thought about her being there. Maybe, thought Maddie, remembering what had happened next, maybe she figured all she'd have to do was say something, and she'd really be one of the girls. And this would be an easy thing to do because all they were doing was talking about dresses. Maddie was standing next to Peggy. Wanda was standing next to Peggy on the other side. All of a sudden, Wanda impulsively touched Peggy's arm and said something. Her light blue eyes were shining and looked excited like the rest of the girls. "What?" asked Peggy, for Wanda had spoken very softly. Wanda hesitated a moment, and then she repeated her words firmly this time. "I got 100 dresses at home." "That's what I thought you said. 100 dresses. 100. Peggy's voice raised itself higher and higher. "Hey, kids," she yelled. "This girl's got 100 dresses." Silence greeted this, and the crowd, which had centered around Cecile and her new finery, now all of a sudden centered curiously around Wanda and Peggy. The girls eyed Wanda, which means they looked at her, first incredulously, then suspiciously. 100 dresses, they said. Nobody could have 100 dresses. I have, though. Wanda has 100 dresses. Where are they, then? In my closet. Oh, you don't wear them to school? No, I wear them to parties. Oh, you mean you don't have everyday dresses? Yes, I have all kinds of dresses, said Wanda. Why don't you wear them to school, then? For a moment, Wanda was silent to this. Her lips drew together. Then she repeated stolidly, as though it were a lesson learned in school. 100 of them, all lined up in my closet. Oh, I see, said Peggy, talking like a grown-up person. The child has 100 dresses, but she wouldn't wear them to school. Perhaps she's worried of getting ink or chalk on them. With this, everybody fell to the ground laughing and talking at once. Wanda looked at them, pursing her lips together, wrinkling her forehead up so that the gray toboggan hat slipped way down on her eyebrow. Suddenly, from down the street, the school gong rang its first warning. Oh, come on, hurry, said Maddie, relieved. We'll be late. Goodbye, Wanda, said Peggy. Your 100 dresses sound beautiful. More shouts of laughter greeted this. And off the girls ran, laughing and talking and forgetting Wanda and her 100 dresses. Forgetting until tomorrow and the next day and the next day, when Peggy, seeing her coming to school, would remember and ask her about the 100 dresses. For now, Peggy seemed to think a day was lost if she had not had some fun with Wanda, winning the approving laughter of the other girls. Yes, that was the way it had all began, the game of the 100 dresses. It all happened so suddenly and unexpectedly, with everybody falling right in, that even if you felt uncomfortable, as Maddie had, there wasn't anything you could do about it. Maddie wagged her head up and down. Yes, she repeated to herself, that was the way it began, that day, that bright blue day. And she wrapped up her pencil shavings, and went to the front of the room to empty them in the teacher's basket. So that's the end of The Bright Blue Day. And it told us the story about how the 100 Dresses game began. The next chapter is called The Contest. So check back in and we'll listen to that one later. Have a great day. I miss you. Bye.